Listen closely, for what I am about to share with you will either awaken the sleeping giant within your soul, or it will fall upon deaf ears like seeds cast upon barren ground. The choice, my friend, is entirely yours. But if you possess even a spark of the divine fire that burns within every person born upon this earth, then these words will ignite a transformation so profound that you will never again recognize the person you were before this moment. You have been living a lie, not by your own choosing perhaps, but a lie nonetheless. You have been conditioned to believe that you are ordinary, that you are limited, that you are at the mercy of circumstances beyond your control. You have been taught to ask permission before you dream, to seek approval before you act, to wait for conditions to be perfect before you move. But I tell you now, with all the conviction of a man who has witnessed the rise of giants from the humblest beginnings, this is not who you are. If you act as if the infinite power of the universe flows through your very being, something miraculous happens. Your voice takes on a different quality, deeper, more resonant, carrying the weight of absolute certainty. Your posture straightens, not with arrogance, but with the quiet dignity of one who knows his worth. You cease this pitiful habit of asking the world for permission to live with the fire that was placed within you before your first breath. And when you finally stop waiting, when you finally step into the fullness of who you were meant to be, the very heavens themselves stop waiting and begin to pour out their abundance upon your life. This is not a mere lesson I offer you today. This is a summons, a divine calling that echoes from the deepest chambers of your soul. If these words have found their way to your consciousness at this precise moment, it is because something within you has been stirring, growing restless, demanding to be unleashed. You have waited long enough, haven't you? That silence you feel in the quiet moments, that restlessness that gnaws at you in the darkness before dawn, this is not confusion or uncertainty. This is the voice of your destiny, the clarion call of your true purpose, commanding you with divine authority to stop living as though you were forgotten by the very power that created you. You were not made to shrink. The infinite intelligence that shaped the mountains and set the stars in their courses did not craft you to be small, to hide your light under the bushel of false humility. You were not placed upon this earth to drift aimlessly through your days like a ship without anchor or sail. You were sent deliberately, purposefully, with divine intention. And the one who sent you does not apologize for the power he placed within your spirit. Consider this truth deeply. The man who truly grasps these words, who listens not once but again and again until they become the very law by which he lives, this man will not simply change. Change is too weak a word for what awaits him. He will undergo a complete transformation, becoming living, breathing proof that purpose exists, that destiny is real, that a human being can walk this earth with such clarity of mission and such unshakable power that he becomes irresistible to success. Now listen with every fiber of your being, for the moment you truly believe this truth. Not merely understand it intellectually, but believe it with every cell of your body. You will no longer walk through this world as just another man. You will walk as one who was sent on a sacred mission, carrying within your heart the very blueprint of your destined greatness. You have wandered in the wilderness of uncertainty long enough, pretending to be less magnificent than the Creator made you. You have bowed your head before the false gods of fear and doubt for far too many years. You have hesitated in the shadows of uncertainty, allowing precious time to slip through your fingers like sand. But now, right now, The voice of your authentic purpose calls to you with such power that it cannot be ignored, cannot be delayed, cannot be denied. If you will obey what is about to be revealed to you, and I mean truly obey, not merely hear with your ears, but absorb with your entire being, and act upon with unwavering commitment, you will never again be the man you were before this transformative hour. For what I am preparing to give you transcends motivation. This is spiritual law, written in the fabric of the universe itself. This is not mere advice to consider when convenient. This is divine instruction to be followed with the precision of a sacred ritual. Here is that truth, blazing with the fire of absolute certainty. You were not made small. The infinite intelligence that governs all creation did not form you to be insignificant. You were not sent to this earth merely to survive, to exist, to take up space and consume oxygen. You were sent with power, real power, tangible power, the kind of power that moves mountains and reshapes destinies. You were sent with command authority, with the divine right to shape your circumstances rather than be shaped by them. You were sent with the very essence of God Himself, written into the core of your spirit. And yet, and this is the tragedy of our times, most men live as though they were intruders in their own existence. They apologize for wanting more than mediocrity. They hide the fire that burns within them, dimming their light to avoid offending those who have chosen to remain in darkness. They speak with hesitation, their words lacking the power of conviction. They act with delay, always waiting for some external validation before they dare to step into their greatness. They wait to be approved, to be given permission, to be told by others that they are worthy of their dreams. This happens not because they lack ability. No, their capability is intact. It happens because they have forgotten the most crucial truth of their existence. They have forgotten who sent them, and with what authority they were dispatched into this world. And here lies the conspiracy of mediocrity. The world prefers you forgotten. Society benefits when you remain small. The systems that govern human behavior depend upon your confusion, your hesitation, your willingness to ask permission rather than take command. Why? Because when a man begins to think as though heaven itself lives within his consciousness, when he starts to move with the confidence of one carrying divine orders, he becomes ungovernable by the forces of limitation. He can no longer be controlled by fear, manipulated by doubt, or held back by the opinions of those who have never tasted the sweet wine of authentic purpose. This truth is not broadcast in schools because educated slaves are more valuable than free thinkers. It is not printed in the headlines because powerful individuals are more difficult to manipulate than confused masses. It is not celebrated in the public square because when a man begins to walk as though infinite intelligence flows through his every thought and action, he becomes a living example of what is possible, and that example threatens every system built upon the premise of human limitation. But understand this with crystal clarity. Infinite intelligence, that mysterious, invisible power that orchestrates the movement of planets and governs the precise timing of every sunrise, is not some distant force residing in the clouds, waiting for you to prove yourself worthy. It is within you at this very moment, pulsing through your veins, animating your thoughts, ready to express itself through your decisions and actions. But here is the key that unlocks everything. It will not move until you do. It waits for your signal, your commitment, your demonstration of faith through action. When you finally align your daily actions with the divine purpose for which you were sent, when you begin to carry yourself as though heaven has personally assigned you a sacred mission, when your words, your decisions, your habits all reflect this profound reverence for your calling, that is when everything in your life begins to shift. The invisible forces of creation begin to work in your favor. Opportunities that once seemed impossible begin to present themselves. Resources you never knew existed begin to flow toward you. People of influence begin to take notice of the power you carry, but this transformation will only occur if you listen, truly listen, with the intensity of a man whose life hangs in the balance. You must silence every voice in your mind that wants to entertain doubt, to compare your journey with others, to skip ahead to the results without embracing the process, or to analyze these truths instead of acting upon them. The wisdom I am about to impart has been hidden from the masses, whispered only to those who have proven themselves ready to receive it and bold enough to act upon it. If you allow your attention to drift while receiving it, you may miss the single sentence that holds the key to your entire future. Do not let that tragedy befall you. Listen as though your destiny depends upon every word, because it does. The wise man will return to these truths again and again, not once or twice, but until they become woven into the very fabric of his being. Until the thought, "God is within me," is no longer a phrase he repeats, but a living reality he breathes. Until the posture of one sent on a divine mission becomes his natural stance, as automatic as breathing. Until his identity is no longer a question mark, but an exclamation point, etched in absolute certainty. You are not here to survive the game of life. You are here to master it. You are not here to wait for permission. You are here to command respect. You are not here to ask what might be possible. You are here to decide what will be inevitable. And the moment you begin to act as though infinite intelligence flows through your consciousness, you will no longer walk through this world as just another person hoping for a break. You will walk as one who was sent with a purpose so magnificent that the very cosmos itself conspires to ensure your success. Now we begin the real work. Listen with your heart wide open, for what follows will either liberate you completely or leave you exactly where you are, depending entirely upon your willingness to embrace these truths and make them the governing principles of your existence. You were not created to hesitate. Let that sink into your consciousness like water into dry earth. The infinite intelligence that designed your mind did not install uncertainty as your default operating system. You were not formed by the hand of divine purpose only to spend your precious days questioning your right to build something magnificent, to speak with authority, to move with confidence through this world. Doubt is not woven into the fabric of your true nature. Delay is not part of your spiritual DNA. Fear is not your birthright or your inheritance from the divine. These limiting emotions were taught to you, programmed into your thinking through years of conditioning by a world that benefits from your smallness. But the same voice that spoke the universe into existence, the identical force that positioned the stars in their perfect orbits and ignited the fire of the sun, this power did not create you with a foundation of uncertainty. It created you with an unshakable core of divine authority and embedded that authority deep within the center of your mind, waiting for the moment when you would finally claim it as your own. Most men live as though they were never intended to truly live at all. They move through their days with hesitation, polluting every breath they take. They walk lightly through this world as though they are trying not to disturb an environment that has already forgotten their existence. They wait for permission to rise, for approval to pursue the very dreams that were placed within their hearts before they took their first breath. They seek validation for desires that came from the Creator himself. But the man who walks as though he was sent on a sacred mission, this man operates by entirely different laws. He does not wait for the world to approve his vision. He does not wander aimlessly, hoping to stumble upon his purpose. He does not beg circumstances to align in his favor. He does not ask the world to accept the fire that burns within his spirit. He walks with that fire because he knows with absolute certainty that it was not given to him by any earthly source. It was breathed into him by God himself. You must now grasp this truth with both hands and hold it close to your heart. You were placed here by divine purpose. Every circumstance, every experience, every moment of your life has been orchestrated to bring you to this precise point of awakening. And the power that placed you here, the infinite intelligence that governs all creation, does not create failure. The eternal source of all achievement does not manufacture weakness. The fountainhead of all success does not send emptiness into the world disguised as human beings. You were not born by accident. You were not placed on this earth through some random cosmic lottery. You were not the result of chance, coincidence, or biological inevitability. You were sent deliberately, purposefully, with divine intention. And if you were sent, then dwelling within your consciousness is something far greater than personality, far more powerful than education, far more influential than environment. There is something eternal within you, something divine, something that demands expression through your unique gifts and talents. The reason so many men feel lost, so many souls wander in confusion, is not because opportunities do not exist. It is not because the world is conspiring against their success. The reason is far simpler and far more profound. They have not obeyed the inner instruction that has been whispering to them since childhood. They have ignored the voice that speaks without sound, the voice that does not shout, but commands with quiet authority. Every time they feel this inner stirring, every time they sense destiny calling their name, they dismiss it as unrealistic. They delay action, hoping for more convenient circumstances. They argue with the very source of their life, negotiating with the power that gave them breath. They treat their divine calling as though it were an optional suggestion rather than a sacred command. And so they shrink, becoming smaller with each act of disobedience. They transform from participants into spectators, from creators into consumers, from the authors of their own story into passive characters in someone else's narrative. Let me speak this truth with absolute clarity, for your future depends upon your understanding. Failure is not woven into your nature. Failure is not your destiny. Failure is not the inevitable result of your circumstances or background. Failure is always, without exception, the result of disobedience to your divine purpose. When a man walks in contradiction to his calling, when he hears the voice of destiny but chooses the comfort of mediocrity, when he senses the fire of purpose within him but clings to the familiar embrace of fear, he must fail. This is not because he is cursed by some cruel fate. This is not because he lacks intelligence or ability. He fails because he has placed himself in direct opposition to the very force that created him. And no man can succeed while fighting against the power of his own source. There exists a spiritual law that governs the rise of every man who has ever achieved anything of significance. You must walk as though heaven itself commissioned you for your mission, not with the arrogance of pride, but with the unshakable confidence of divine authority. You must live not as a question seeking an answer, but as a living answer to the questions of purpose and possibility. You must speak not as someone wondering whether he belongs in the conversation, but as one who knows without doubt that he was specifically chosen to lead that conversation. This is not fantasy, my friend. This is not wishful thinking or self-help philosophy. This is your assignment, written in the spiritual realm before your physical birth, waiting for you to finally accept delivery. Do not dare tell me you are too flawed for such a destiny. Every man throughout history that God has used to accomplish great things was flawed. Abraham Lincoln struggled with depression. Winston Churchill battled alcoholism. Thomas Edison failed over 10,000 times. Their flaws did not disqualify them. Their obedience qualified them. Do not tell me you are too late, that your opportunity has passed. The eternal realm operates outside the constraints of time. What appears late to human perception may be perfectly timed from heaven's perspective. Moses was 80 years old when he led the Israelites out of Egypt. Colonel Sanders was 65 when he franchised Kentucky Fried Chicken. Their age became their advantage, not their limitation. Do not tell me you need to feel more ready, more prepared, more confident. Obedience has never required comfort as a prerequisite. It has never demanded that you feel fully prepared before you begin. It only requires alignment. Alignment between your actions and your calling, between your daily habits and your divine purpose. And here is where the miracle lives. Once you align your life with your purpose, the resources you need begin to appear. The power that seemed absent begins to flow. The opportunities that seemed impossible begin to present themselves. This happens not because the external world has suddenly changed its attitude toward you, but because you have finally changed your relationship with the power that lives within you. Let me give you a powerful example of this principle in action. Abraham Lincoln was not the man the political establishment expected or wanted. He was mocked by the media, dismissed by the intellectuals, defeated in multiple elections. He faced public humiliation that would have crushed a lesser man. He endured scorn from those who considered themselves his superiors. But Lincoln possessed something that could not be taken from him. He obeyed the inner command. He did not walk through the political arena as just another office seeker hoping for approval. He walked as a man carrying divine principles. He did not speak to win favor from the crowds. He spoke to fulfill a sacred responsibility that had been placed upon his shoulders by a power greater than political opinion. His strength was not discovered in strategy sessions or campaign meetings. It was found in the moral fire that burned continuously in his chest, a fire that had been placed there by something infinitely greater than the desire for political popularity. Lincoln did not succeed because the world was ready for his leadership. He succeeded because he walked as though destiny moved with him. And when a man walks in that manner, destiny has no choice but to follow. And now I speak directly to you. Destiny will move with you if you will walk in the same spirit of obedience. The concept of God dwelling within you is not a religious symbol to make you feel better about yourself. It is not a metaphor designed to boost your self-esteem. It is not a poetic phrase to ease your troubled conscience during difficult times. God within you represents infinite intelligence, actively seeking expression through your thoughts, your habits, your daily actions. It is the identical power that placed you here, not to wander aimlessly through life, but to build something magnificent. Not to beg for scraps from the table of mediocrity, but to lead others to the banquet of authentic success. Not to drift with whatever current seems easiest, but to decide the direction of your own stream. That power is waiting for you at this very moment. It is not waiting for the world to finally approve of your dreams. It is not waiting for your past to somehow transform itself into something more acceptable. It is not waiting for fear to pack its bags and leave you alone. It is waiting for one thing only: for you to rise, to align yourself with your calling, to speak what must be spoken, to do what must be done. And when you finally obey that inner call, when you carry yourself as a man who was sent on a divine mission, heaven itself begins to move in your favor. Resources that seemed unavailable become accessible. People who once ignored you begin to seek your counsel. Opportunities that appeared impossible begin to knock at your door. Let me now give you the spiritual practice that will transform your relationship with your own power. Each morning, before the world has a chance to fill your mind with its confusion and doubt, speak these words aloud. I was not made to wander. I was sent to walk in power. Do not look around you for evidence that these words are true. The external world is always the last to recognize what has already been established in the spiritual realm. Look within yourself for the confirmation you need. The presence of that inner fire, that restless dissatisfaction with mediocrity, that burning desire for something more. This is your evidence. This is your proof. This is your divine credentials. Write down your chief aim, not as a goal you hope to achieve, but as a divine instruction you have been commanded to fulfill. Place this written statement where you will see it daily, where it will remind you constantly of who you are and why you are here. This is not wishful thinking. This is your marching orders from the infinite intelligence that created you. Every action you take today must reflect the truth of who you are. Not who you have been, but who you were sent to become. No hesitation, no need for lengthy explanations to justify your movements, just pure action flowing from clear purpose. Before you sleep each night, repeat this affirmation again with absolute conviction. I was not made to wander. I was sent to walk in power. Let these words be the last thoughts that occupy your mind before rest, so that even in sleep, your subconscious mind is being programmed with the truth of your divine nature. Now speak these words aloud. Do not whisper them as though you are unsure of their truth. Declare them with the clarity and strength and reverence they deserve. I was not made to wander. I was sent to walk in power. Say it again, with even more conviction. I was not made to wander. I was sent to walk in power. Son, let these words become your personal law, overriding every program of limitation that has been installed in your thinking. Let them silence forever the voice of your former self, that weak, hesitant, permission-seeking person you used to be. Let them cancel the doubt that has been your constant companion, the delay that has stolen your momentum, the guilt that has kept you small, the shame that has dimmed your light. You are not here to carry shame like a heavy burden on your shoulders. You are not here to rehearse the pain of your past mistakes. You are here to walk in the fullness of divine purpose, to think with the authority of one who knows his mission, to act as though heaven itself is watching your every move. And here is the beautiful truth. Heaven is within you. You are the builder of your destiny now, not someday when you feel more prepared, not in some future season when circumstances align perfectly, but right now, in this moment. You are the voice of authority in your own life now, not when you feel completely ready, not when fear finally decides to leave you alone, but now, while you still feel the trembling of transformation in your bones. You are the one who was sent to carry this message of divine possibility into every room you enter, every hour you live, every decision you make. The only question that remains, the only choice that matters now, is this. Will you obey the call that echoes in the deepest chambers of your soul? Or will you continue to argue with the very source of your existence? The power you seek has already been placed within your spirit. The law that governs success has already been written in your heart. The voice of your destiny has already spoken your name. Now go and obey and build and walk as one who was sent with divine authority to accomplish something magnificent in this world. The power you desperately seek, the breakthrough you constantly pray for, does not descend like morning dew upon those who remain idle. It does not flow like a river toward the man who waits for perfect conditions to appear before he dares to move. Infinite intelligence, that invisible force which choreographs the dance of galaxies and orchestrates the precise timing of every heartbeat, does not concern itself with your feelings of inadequacy or your catalogue of fears. It concerns itself with one thing only: your movement. Your willingness to act in faith before faith feels comfortable. Your decision to step forward while the ground still feels uncertain beneath your feet. The spiritual law that governs all achievement is this, and it admits no exceptions. Belief must be proven through action. You may speak eloquently of faith, write beautifully of purpose, dream magnificently of greatness, but if you do not translate that inner conviction into outer movement, your belief remains nothing more than intellectual entertainment. It possesses no power to change your circumstances because it possesses no substance in the realm where circumstances are actually shaped. Faith without movement is not humility, as so many have been taught to believe. It is not spiritual wisdom or patient waiting for divine timing. It is rebellion, a silent but profound rejection of the very purpose that was planted within your consciousness before your birth. It is the sin of delay disguised in the respectable clothing of prudence and caution. You were not sent to this earth to wait. The infinite intelligence that formed you did not spend eons crafting your unique combination of talents and abilities so that you could spend your days hesitating at the threshold of your own greatness. You were sent to build, to create, to transform vision into reality through the power of sustained action. You were not sent here to question your power as though it were some cosmic mistake. You were sent to wield that power with the confidence of one who knows that he carries within him the same creative force that spoke worlds into existence. The man who walks as though heaven walks beside him, who moves as though infinite intelligence flows through his every decision. This man unlocks the gates of provision that remain forever closed to those who wait for permission. This happens not because he possesses some special privilege unavailable to others, but because he acts before proof arrives. He moves while others hesitate. He builds while others debate. You must understand this spiritual law with perfect clarity, for your entire future depends upon your grasp of it. Action confirms belief. Waiting denies it. If you claim to believe in your divine purpose but refuse to move toward it, your subconscious mind records that contradiction with perfect accuracy. And because the subconscious does not argue with your instructions, does not evaluate the wisdom of your choices, does not question the logic of your behavior, it simply obeys. It begins to align your energy, your opportunities, your very circumstances with the message you are actually sending through your actions rather than your words. You begin to shrink in your own estimation. You begin to hesitate more frequently. You begin to act less boldly. You begin to expect less from life and from yourself. And soon, belief itself transforms from a living seed capable of producing miracles into nothing more than a fading memory of what you once thought possible. But consider the opposite scenario. The man who moves even while afraid, even while uncertain, even while the voice of doubt whispers its poisonous suggestions in his ear, this man begins to multiply his own spiritual strength. Why? Because movement attracts power, like a magnet attracts iron. Boldness activates response from the universe itself. Heaven honors the man who honors his purpose by walking in it, regardless of how he feels in the moment of walking. Do not confuse stillness with wisdom. Yes, there is a time for reflection, a season for planning, a moment for gathering your thoughts and clarifying your vision. But that reflection must always lead to decision. And decision, if it is genuine, must be followed immediately by action. The law of growth begins its work the moment you begin yours. Consider the example of Thomas Edison, whose name has become synonymous with innovative genius. Edison did not wait for the perfect design to appear in his mind like a gift from heaven. He did not require applause from the scientific community before he dared to begin his experiments. He did not demand absolute certainty about his methods before he committed himself to his vision. He simply believed in what he could see in his mind's eye, and because he believed, he acted. Over 10,000 failed attempts at creating the electric light bulb. Over 10,000 moments when lesser men would have quit, would have interpreted failure as a message from the universe to abandon their dreams. But every time Edison moved, every time he worked, every time he reached again toward his vision, despite the most recent setback, he was confirming his belief through action. And eventually, inevitably, according to spiritual law, belief crystallized into result. Vision transformed into invention. Imagination became recorded history. The invisible became visible through the power of persistent action, backed by unwavering faith. And you, my friend, are no different from Edison. You carry within your consciousness the identical power of creation. You have been visited by the same infinite intelligence that whispered possibilities into his eager mind. You are not waiting for a miracle to occur in your life. You are the miracle, waiting to occur through your willingness to move. But if you continue to disobey this fundamental law, if you persist in speaking without acting, planning without executing, praying without pursuing, you will remain exactly where you are. Not because you are cursed by some malevolent fate, not because the universe has somehow forgotten your address, but because you have failed to demonstrate through your behavior that you truly believe what you claim to believe. The world yields its treasures to the man who does not wait for ideal conditions. It opens its doors to the one who does not hesitate at the threshold of opportunity. It responds with resources and support to the man who moves forward, not with panic or desperation, but with the quiet conviction that comes from knowing he is aligned with divine purpose. You must now become that man, the one who walks forward even when the path disappears in morning mist, the one who builds even before he can see the reward waiting at the completion of his labor, the one who trusts the voice within his own heart more than the cacophony of doubt that surrounds him in the outer world. Let me give you the law once more, etched now in your consciousness like words carved in granite. Action confirms belief. Waiting denies it. And I give you now the daily discipline that will transform your relationship with your own power and potential. Each morning, before you allow the world to fill your mind with its urgent but unimportant demands, write down one action, just one, that aligns perfectly with your chief aim. Then take that action before the sun reaches its zenith. When hesitation speaks its familiar language of delay and doubt, when fear whispers its litany of reasonable excuses, repeat aloud these words of power. I walk in obedience. I move before I feel ready. I walk as if heaven moves with me. Record your proof daily. Show your mind through documented evidence that you are no longer a man of delay, no longer a person who waits for permission to pursue his own destiny. You are a man of action, a person of movement, a force for positive change in this world. Do not waste your energy explaining your actions to those who have chosen hesitation as their life philosophy. Their permission is not a requirement for your progress. Their understanding is not necessary for your success. Their approval is not a prerequisite for your advancement. You may protest, but I am afraid. Good. That means the command from your higher self was clear and unmistakable. Fear is not a stop sign posted by divine intelligence to prevent your progress. It is simply the echo of your old self dying, the sound of limitation losing its grip on your consciousness. And the only cure for fear is not comfort or consolation. It is obedience to your calling. Now speak these words aloud with absolute conviction, as though your future self is listening and taking notes. I walk in obedience. I move before I feel ready. I walk as if heaven moves with me. Say it again with even more power and certainty. I walk in obedience. I move before I feel ready. I walk as if heaven moves with me. This is not merely a phrase to repeat when you feel motivated. It is your new rhythm of existence, your personal law, your identity written in words that carry the power to reshape reality itself. From this moment forward, there will be no more hesitation in your vocabulary, no more waiting in your behavior, no more negotiating with the divine dream that was placed within your heart by infinite mind itself. Now you move. Now you obey. Now you act with the confidence of one who knows that every step forward is a step taken in partnership with the power that created the universe. And when you finally embrace this truth and live by this law, watch with amazement how heaven follows your steps, how resources appear to support your mission, how opportunities unfold to match your obedience. The miracle you seek is not somewhere outside you, waiting to be discovered. The miracle you seek is you, waiting to be unleashed through the power of faith-backed action. You cannot carry divine power with a divided mind. You cannot walk in spiritual authority while entertaining every voice that clamors for your attention, every fear that demands consideration, every contradiction that seeks to derail your focus. The man who has been sent on a sacred mission must protect his thought life with the same intensity a king guards his crown, because thought is the throne room of your authority. And if your thought life becomes polluted with confusion and contradiction, your actions will inevitably betray the weakness of your mental foundation. Most men do not fall because they encounter failure in their pursuits. They fall because their thinking was left unguarded, open to every suggestion, every doubt, every limiting belief that happened to wander through their consciousness. They permit every fear to speak its piece. They allow every critic to rent space in their minds. They open the gates of their inner world to the noise and confusion of the outer world, then wonder in bewilderment why their power seems to fade like morning mist in the heat of the sun. But the man who has been sent, the man who walks as though the voice of infinite intelligence speaks through his every word and guides his every step, this man does not treat his thought life casually. He does not assume that whatever happens to cross his mind is acceptable simply because it appeared there. He disciplines his thinking. He commands his mental focus. He directs his attention with the precision of a master conductor directing a symphony orchestra. And in doing so, he becomes unshakable in his purpose, immovable in his commitment, unstoppable in his progress. Let me now share with you this fundamental law that will revolutionize your effectiveness. Controlled attention is the bridge between infinite intelligence and definite achievement. If your mind remains open to every noise, every fear, every imagined threat that seeks to capture your focus, then infinite intelligence cannot communicate clearly with you. The divine cannot speak through clutter. The Creator cannot direct a distracted mind any more than a radio can receive a clear signal when surrounded by static and interference. You must now ask yourself this crucial question daily, hourly, moment by moment. Does this thought honor the call that lives within me? D. If the answer is yes, if the thought aligns with your purpose, supports your mission, and strengthens your resolve, then you think it, you speak it, you act upon it with complete commitment. If the answer is no, If the thought contradicts your calling, weakens your confidence, or leads you away from your divine assignment, then it is immediately rejected, removed from your mental landscape, and replaced with something that serves your higher purpose. No emotional attachment to the rejected thought. No lengthy arguments about why it might deserve consideration. No extended explanations to justify its presence. You are not here to negotiate with limitation. You are here to build from a foundation of spiritual obedience. This is the daily practice of the man who has been sent. This is how divine authority maintains its strength in a world that constantly seeks to diminish it. Let me give you a powerful example of this law in action through the life of John D. Rockefeller, whose name became synonymous with financial success and industrial achievement. During the great financial panics that periodically shook the economic foundations of the world, while other businessmen collapsed under the weight of fear and uncertainty, Rockefeller remained steady, calm, focused, absolutely controlled in his thinking. He did not absorb the panic that filled the newspapers. He did not allow headlines of economic doom to rewrite his fundamental aims and objectives. While the world around him screamed in financial terror, he listened only to the quiet voice of his own purpose and the steady rhythm of his own plans. Because his attention remained disciplined rather than reactive, because his focus stayed fixed on his vision rather than scattered by external chaos, his results became inevitable rather than accidental. He did not possess more luck than other men. He did not have access to secret information unavailable to his competitors. He had something far more valuable. He had more focus, more mental discipline, more controlled attention. You must now commit yourself to becoming that same type of man, a man whose thoughts are trained rather than random, directed rather than reactive, carefully chosen rather than casually accepted, because your mind is the sacred channel through which the voice of infinite intelligence will act in your life. And if you allow that channel to remain cluttered with mental debris, you will delay every miracle that is meant to find its way to you. Let me now give you the practical method for building this spiritual clarity that will transform your effectiveness. Begin each day by writing this single question on paper where you can see it clearly. Does this thought honor the call that lives within me? Throughout the day, review your dominant thoughts against this standard. Remove anything that contradicts your chief aim, anything that weakens your resolve, anything that leads you away from the person you are becoming. Every time a fearful or doubtful thought attempts to establish residence in your consciousness, interrupt it immediately with this powerful statement. I think in alignment. I speak with purpose. I obey the voice that sent me. At night, before you surrender to sleep, write a brief evaluation of how your thoughts either honored or resisted your calling during the day. This becomes your inner audit, your spiritual inventory, your method for ensuring that you are becoming more disciplined in your thinking rather than more careless. Let me share this truth that will strengthen your resolve. The world will never speak louder than the man who knows why he was sent. But if you allow the world's volume to overtake the quiet voice of your inner wisdom, your life will inevitably follow the wrong set of instructions. From this moment forward, there will be no more mental wandering in your experience, no more casual acceptance of random thoughts, no more entertainment of internal noise that contradicts the divine intelligence that formed you. You are a vessel designed to carry infinite intelligence into the world through your unique gifts and talents. You are not a dumping ground for doubt, fear, and limitation. Say this declaration aloud now, with the authority of one who means every word. I think in alignment. I speak with purpose. I obey the voice that sent me. Say it again, allowing these words to penetrate deeper into your consciousness. I think in alignment. I speak with purpose. I obey the voice that sent me. This is your mental law, your spiritual firewall, your non-negotiable standard that you will rise to meet every morning and defend with your life until night falls. Because when your thoughts consistently serve your purpose, everything you touch will begin to prosper. When your mind becomes clean and focused, your decisions become sharp and effective. When your attention becomes fixed on your divine assignment, your voice gains weight and influence. When your thinking becomes disciplined, heaven can trust you with greater responsibilities and greater rewards. You are not here to think as the confused masses think. You are not here to repeat the noise of the distracted and defeated. You are here to channel divine power through the purity of your thoughts. And that sacred work begins immediately. The man who has been sent on a divine mission cannot speak like someone who doubts his assignment. He cannot use the hesitant language of uncertainty. He cannot dilute the power of his convictions with the weak vocabulary of fear and limitation. If heaven has placed a calling within your heart, and it has, then your words must be forged in perfect alignment with that calling. Every time you speak, whether to others or to yourself, you are giving instructions to your subconscious mind. And the subconscious, being the seat of all action and the source of all achievement, obeys whatever is spoken with genuine emotion and consistent repetition. Whether that instruction leads toward success or failure, toward expansion or limitation, toward your destiny or away from it. This is the spiritual law of autosuggestion, and it governs every result in your life with mathematical precision. You may not be consciously aware of its operation, but the law does not require your awareness to function. It works whether you understand it or not, whether you believe in it or not, whether you cooperate with it consciously or unconsciously. The subconscious mind does not argue with your statements. It does not evaluate the wisdom of your words. It does not question the logic of your declarations. It asks only two simple questions. Have I heard this message often enough to accept it as true? And was it spoken with sufficient emotion to warrant my attention? If the answer to both questions is yes, then your subconscious goes to work immediately, shaping your decisions, adjusting your posture, influencing your emotions, and directing your momentum to match the command you have given it through your words. So understand this with crystal clarity. If you speak doubt, you instruct weakness into your experience. If you speak with command and authority, you activate power in your life. Most men fail to achieve their dreams not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because their words do not match their aims. They speak with uncertainty about their goals. They declare nothing with conviction. They rehearse limitation in their daily language, and then wonder in confusion why their actions seem to betray their hopes. They say, "I hope," and their subconscious obeys by creating hesitation. They say, "I'll try," and their subconscious receives permission to retreat at the first sign of resistance. They say, "Maybe," and "perhaps," and "we'll see what happens." And so their lives become exercises in uncertainty rather than demonstrations of power. But the man who walks as though heaven sent him must speak with an entirely different vocabulary. His words carry the unmistakable tone of decision. His speech reflects the mind of a man who has received clear instructions from a higher source. He does not hope for results. He declares what will happen. He does not wish for circumstances to improve. He instructs reality to align with his vision. He does not explain away his power. He affirms his divine authority with every sentence. Let me now give you the identity script that will reprogram your subconscious mind and align your entire being with your divine purpose. This is not poetic language designed to make you feel better temporarily. This is a spiritual decree that carries the power to transform your identity from the inside out and it must be spoken aloud every morning before the world has a chance to fill your ears with its contradictory messages. I am the man who was sent to build. I speak with power. I act with finality. Purity. This simple script, if repeated daily with faith blazing in your heart and fire in your voice, will reprogram your subconscious to see yourself not as a man waiting hopefully for results to appear, but as a man who creates results through the power of his focused intention. It will install a new image of personal authority in your mind, and that image will begin to attract thoughts, habits, opportunities, and relationships that match its frequency. This transformation occurs not through some mystical magic, but through the natural operation of a fundamental mental law. The mind always moves in the direction of its dominant instruction. Give your mind clear, repeated, emotionally charged instructions about who you are and what you do, and it will reorganize your entire life around that identity. Let us examine a man who lived this law to its fullest extent. Charles M. Schwab. He began his career as a simple mill worker, performing manual labor for modest wages. But he rose to become the president of United States Steel, one of the most powerful industrial positions in the world. How did such a transformation occur? Because his words carried the unmistakable ring of conviction. When Schwab spoke, men listened with respect, not because of his official status, he possessed none in the beginning, but because of the certainty that flowed through his voice. He did not explain himself with hesitation or qualification. He gave direction with absolute belief in his authority to do so. And because his words came from a deep alignment with divine purpose, rather than personal ego, others followed his direction without resistance. He did not rise through the accumulation of status or credentials. He rose through the transformative power of speech that carried divine conviction. He did not wait to feel powerful before he spoke as one who possessed authority. He spoke as one who already was, and the world, recognizing authentic power when it heard it, adjusted accordingly to match his inner certainty. You must now commit yourself to the same transformation. Your words must perfectly match the man you are becoming, not the man you have been. If they don't align, your subconscious mind will remain trapped in confusion, unsure of which instruction to follow. And a confused subconscious produces nothing of value. It stalls in indecision, contradicts itself through inconsistent behavior, and hesitates at every crucial moment. But a subconscious mind that receives clear, repeated instruction, delivered daily with genuine emotion, becomes magnificently obedient. And that obedience is the very foundation upon which your new identity will be constructed. Brick by brick, day by day. Let me give you your new practice. The daily ritual that will rebuild your identity from the ground up. Write your identity script in the present tense, beginning with the powerful words, I am the man who. Speak this script aloud every morning before the world fills your ears with its contradictory messages, and again every night before sleep claims your consciousness. Not softly, not as though you're unsure of its truth. Speak it as though your future self is listening and recording every word. Every time you catch yourself speaking weakness, doubt, or limitation, stop immediately in mid-sentence and correct it aloud. Say with absolute conviction, that is not who I am. I speak belief, I speak law, I speak what I am becoming. Keep a daily record of your spoken word. Track with scientific precision how often your mouth obeyed your divine calling and how often it betrayed it. Awareness is power, and power multiplied by awareness becomes unstoppable force. You may dismiss this practice as too simple to produce dramatic results. That would be the greatest mistake you could make. Simplicity is not weakness. It is the doorway through which all transformation must pass. It is the small thing done with burning faith that changes everything in your experience. One line spoken with absolute belief becomes the spiritual law that your entire life will follow, but only if you repeat it with unwavering consistency until it becomes as natural as breathing. Now, speak this affirmation aloud. Do not whisper it as though you're ashamed of its power. This is your voice training your life for greatness. I speak law. I speak belief. I speak what I am becoming. Say it again with even more conviction. I speak law. I speak belief. I speak what I am becoming. Durkee, let these words override completely the weak language of your former self. Let them replace forever the habit of soft, hesitant speech. Let them shatter the pattern of vague intention that has kept you small for too long. Because from this moment forward, you are not speaking your doubts. You are speaking your divine design into existence. Every word that leaves your mouth is a command to the universe. Every sentence is a signal that broadcasts who you are becoming. Every declaration is another brick in the construction of the magnificent identity that heaven sent you to build. This is not empty talk, designed to make you feel better temporarily. This is spiritual alignment of the highest order. And when your words match your calling perfectly, the world itself begins to obey you. You do not rise through volume or noise. You rise through precision. You do not ascend through empty boasting. You rise through the consistent application of spiritual law. You do not elevate yourself by waiting until you believe completely. You rise by speaking belief until belief becomes your natural reflex, your automatic response, your default setting. You were sent to this earth to speak with divine power. The time for tentative words has ended. Now demonstrate that power through the authority of your speech. You are being watched, not by the world, not by critics, not by the cynical voices that doubt your potential, but by the very force that placed you here with such deliberate intention. You may think that no one sees the decisions you make in the privacy of your own thoughts. You may imagine that your moments of laziness are hidden, your shortcuts excused, your delays unnoticed by any authority that matters. But the eye that sent you never sleeps. The infinite intelligence that crafted your soul and breathed life into your body is watching constantly, not to condemn your failures, but to confirm your faithfulness. Every movement you make is a direct reflection of what you truly believe about who you are, and every moment of action or inaction is a revelation of what you think about the one who gave you the power to act in the first place. The man who walks as though no one sees him, who cuts corners when the crowd disperses, who only performs with excellence when attention is focused upon him, this man will always remain small. Not because the world rejects his efforts, but because he has fundamentally disrespected the one who sent him on this sacred mission. You must now understand with perfect clarity that discipline is not about raw effort or grinding determination. Discipline is about reverence, deep, abiding reverence for the divine purpose that flows through your veins. It is not simply about doing more tasks or working longer hours. It is about doing what is right with fire in your heart, with passionate intensity, with profound honor. Because you know with absolute certainty that the God within you is present and attentive in every single moment. You do not work hard merely because you want material success or worldly recognition. You work with excellence because you were sent by infinite intelligence itself, and anything less than your complete obedience to that calling is nothing short of spiritual betrayal. Let me give you the law of inner watchfulness that will revolutionize how you approach every aspect of your existence. Every act is an offering to the divine. Every word is a prayer in motion. Every moment builds your identity, either in alignment with your calling or in contradiction to it. Whether you realize it consciously or not, you are always worshiping something. You are always declaring something sacred through your choices, your efforts, your standards, the way you speak to others, the way you show up to your responsibilities, the way you execute even your smallest tasks. None of these actions are spiritually neutral. They are either perfectly aligned with the divine mission you were sent to fulfill, or they are evidence that you have temporarily forgotten who you are and why you are here. And when a man forgets his true identity, he begins to live as though no one of importance is watching. He begins to compromise his standards in the silence of his private moments. He begins to lower his expectations of himself. He begins to excuse behavior and choices that once would have filled him with righteous anger. And over time, his divine identity slowly dissolves. Not because the world attacked him with overwhelming force, but because he chose casualness over reverence, convenience over character. But you are not a casual man. Not anymore. You were not sent to this earth to be seen performing for human applause. You were sent here to act as though you are always seen by the most important audience in the universe. You were not sent here to seek the approval of crowds. You were sent here to act as though heaven itself occupies the front row of your life's theater, because that is exactly the spiritual reality in which you live. And when you finally embrace this truth and live accordingly, you become unstoppable by any earthly force. The man who acts with consistent excellence when no human eye is upon him becomes the man the entire world cannot ignore. He becomes trusted by heaven with greater responsibilities. He becomes supplied with supernatural provision. He becomes a magnet for divine order, for spiritual power, for heavenly favor, because through his faithful stewardship of small things, he has proven himself worthy of infinitely more. Let me show you a man who lived this law with absolute commitment: Henry Ford. When Ford declared his intention to build the revolutionary V8 engine, every technical expert told him it was impossible. They brought him their evidence, their calculations, their proof of why it could not be done. They explained the insurmountable obstacles in painstaking detail. They advised him strongly to abandon such an unrealistic task. But Ford did not flinch at their opposition. He did not waver under their pressure. He did not adjust his belief downward to accommodate their limited facts, because he understood something they did not. He did not treat his decision as a mere business gamble. He treated it as a divine command that had been whispered into his consciousness by infinite intelligence itself. And when you treat your decisions as though they originated from God, rather than from your own limited reasoning, you do not retreat when others panic. You do not abandon your vision when experts discourage you. Ford obeyed the voice within his own heart, rather than the cacophony of voices around him. And because of this unwavering obedience to his inner instruction, the impossible bowed to his will, reality bent to accommodate his vision, the experts were humbled by his success, and a revolutionary invention was born into the world. This happened not because Ford was lucky or exceptionally clever or specially favored by circumstances. It happened because he moved with profound reverence toward the divine instruction he had received, treating each day's work as a sacred offering to the power that had entrusted him with such a magnificent vision. That is now your standard of excellence. Every decision you make, every task you complete, every word you speak must be executed as though God Himself is watching with keen interest. Because He is, you do not need human eyes focused upon you to act with passionate fire. The fire already burns within your spirit. The eye that matters most is already observing every move you make. You must now train yourself to walk in the healthy fear of dishonoring your divine calling, not because of guilt or condemnation, but because of perfect alignment with your true purpose. If God trusted you enough to place supernatural power within your consciousness, then every moment you waste, every compromise you make, every lazy excuse you entertain is nothing less than theft. It is theft from the magnificent man you were born to become. It is theft from the countless lives you were specifically sent to impact. It is theft from the very source that placed his own breath within your lungs. You are not here to play casually with divine power. You are here to steward it with the reverence it deserves. And the man who stewards well in the hidden moments is the man heaven will promote openly for all to see. Let me now give you your daily practice, your private altar of transformation. Each morning, before the world can distract you with its urgent but unimportant demands, speak aloud. My actions reflect heaven. I build with fire. I move with honor. Before each task, regardless of how small or seemingly insignificant, ask yourself this crucial question. If God were watching this moment, would I approach this task exactly the same way? And then, correct your approach with immediate action if the answer reveals room for improvement. Write down one moment each day where you gave more than was required, where you exceeded expectations not for human recognition, but as your private offering to the divine. Before sleep claims your consciousness, kneel, not to ask for favors, but to declare with quiet confidence, I have honored my divine instruction today. I will rise again tomorrow in complete obedience. You are now a man of the altar, not of public religious display, but of private, profound reverence. Your excellence in the unseen moments will build a reputation that cannot be shaken in the seen world. Now speak this aloud as your sacred command, your non-negotiable standard. My actions reflect heaven. I build with fire. I move with honor. Say it again with even deeper conviction. My actions reflect heaven. I build with fire. I move with honor. Let these words govern how you clean your home, how you write your correspondence, how you speak to strangers, how you respond to difficulties, how you breathe your very breath. Because your divine assignment is not casual work. Your movement through this world is sacred. Your voice carries sacred power. Your labor serves a sacred purpose. And if you act in alignment with this truth every single day, you will rise in ways that no earthly wisdom can explain. You will succeed in patterns that no competitor can copy. You will walk through this world as though guided by something infinitely higher than human intelligence, because you are. From this day forward, live with the unshakable conviction that everything you do is witnessed by the one who sent you. And live with such passionate fire that even heaven itself must take notice of the excellence you bring to every moment. The world does not follow titles or credentials. It does not obey empty ambition or hollow promises. It does not kneel before those who wait desperately for external validation. The world yields its treasures and opportunities to the man who believes with every fiber of his being that he was sent. Not by human authority, not by random chance, but by heaven itself with a specific mission to accomplish. The man who walks in this profound belief carries an entirely different atmosphere wherever he goes. He does not ask permission to occupy space. Space automatically arranges itself to accommodate him. You have witnessed this phenomenon yourself. You have felt the power of this spiritual law in operation. One man walks into a room, and somehow the room diminishes him, making him appear smaller and less significant than he actually is. Another man enters that same space, and the entire room adjusts its energy to match his presence. This difference occurs not because of external charisma or worldly fame, but because of inner certainty, because of unshakable conviction, because the second man carries himself like one who is on a divine assignment. And when any man moves through life with that level of spiritual awareness, the world cannot help but take notice. This is not superstition or wishful thinking. This is immutable spiritual law. The inner belief of a man determines with mathematical precision how the outer world responds to him. Your energy, your presence, your tone of voice, your very walk. None of these emerge from your circumstances or environment. They emerge directly from your identity, from what you believe about yourself at the deepest level. And when your identity becomes anchored in divine purpose rather than human opinion, you become immovable by any earthly force. You must now train yourself to walk like a man who carries divine instruction in his heart. You are not wandering aimlessly through life. You are building something magnificent. You are not seeking desperately for your purpose. You are executing the purpose that has already been revealed. You are not questioning your right to be here. You are obeying the divine order that placed you here. And when your walk, your speech, your very presence reflects this inner order, everything around you begins to conform to your spiritual authority. Let me speak this truth with absolute clarity. Faith creates atmosphere. Discipline creates credibility. Repetition creates inevitability. Faith creates atmosphere because the man who believes he was sent by heaven carries no apology for his existence. His energy is decisive rather than hesitant. His speech perfectly aligns with his mission. His presence does not shrink to make others comfortable. He does not need to speak loudly to be felt throughout the room. His very silence commands respect and attention. Discipline creates credibility because when a man remains consistent in his standards and actions, the world begins to trust his voice implicitly. His unwavering repetition trains everyone around him to take his words seriously. He says exactly what he means and means exactly what he says. He finishes what he begins. He does not start and stop with every shifting mood or circumstance. He becomes utterly reliable, and reliability is the spiritual armor of those who have been chosen for greatness. Repetition creates inevitability because no matter how long the process requires, the man who consistently repeats the law of his divine purpose cannot be permanently stopped. He may face temporary delays, but he is never ultimately denied, because the world must eventually adjust to accommodate what is spiritually permanent. And the man of true discipline becomes as permanent as the laws that govern the universe itself. Let me give you a man who embodied this truth completely. Andrew Carnegie. He was not born into wealth or privilege. He was not educated in elite institutions. He possessed no great inheritance of money or social connections, but he walked through life as though something infinitely larger than human circumstances had placed him on earth to achieve something infinitely larger than ordinary life. Carnegie did not wait to feel worthy of his great dreams before he began pursuing them. He acted as though he had already been chosen by destiny itself. And that profound belief shaped every decision he made, every habit he developed, every relationship he cultivated. Carnegie expected greatness, not from arrogance or pride, but from perfect spiritual alignment. He believed with absolute conviction that heaven had planted the seed of industrial empire within his consciousness. And because he believed this truth completely, he moved in unwavering faith. He built in patient silence. He gave direction to others long before those others believed in his revolutionary vision. And the world, slowly at first, then suddenly and completely, obeyed his leadership. You must now adopt this same spiritual law as your own. Do not walk through life with apology for your dreams. Do not seek permission from small-minded people to believe in your divine calling. Do not wait for someone with lesser vision to tell you that you are allowed to think like a man sent by God. You are already authorized. Your burning desire, your compelling vision, your inner restlessness that refuses to be silenced. These are not signs of dangerous arrogance. They are irrefutable evidence of divine assignment. They are absolute proof that you were not born to blend invisibly into the crowd, but to become something magnificent that the world desperately needs. Let me now give you your new mental instruction, your daily rhythm of thought and behavior that will transform every aspect of your existence. Each morning, stand tall and speak aloud with conviction. I walk as one sent. I work as one assigned. I finish as one chosen. Move through every environment with the conscious awareness that your presence carries divine significance. When you sit at any table, sit like a man who is building something eternal. When you enter any room, speak only words that align perfectly with your sacred mission. Do not ask whether you are welcome in that space. Act like you belong there because the one who sent you has already cleared the path. When doubt attempts to rise in your consciousness, do not waste energy arguing with it. Instead, declare aloud with absolute authority, I was sent. I am qualified. I do not retreat. Keep a daily journal of confirmations, moments when your inner belief demonstrably influenced your outer environment. You are not here to fit into the world's limited expectations. You are here to establish spiritual law. You are here to become the living example of what happens when a man believes that his life is the direct result of divine intention. And when you begin to live like this consistently, the world begins to respond accordingly. Your posture shifts into one of quiet authority. Your eyes speak volumes before your mouth opens. Your silence commands attention. Your presence changes the spiritual temperature of every space you enter. And this transformation has nothing to do with personality or charisma. It is spiritual identity in powerful motion. Now speak this aloud as your identity, your truth, your non-negotiable reality. I walk as one sent. I work as one assigned. I finish as one chosen. Say it again with even deeper conviction. I walk as one sent. I work as one assigned. I finish as one chosen. Let these words become your spiritual filter, your daily standard, your permanent atmosphere. You no longer walk like a man hoping desperately to be noticed. You walk like a man carrying the specific orders of heaven. And that kind of man always, without exception, makes the world yield to his divine authority. Transformation is not an accident that befalls the fortunate few. It is not a mystery that cannot be understood or explained. It is not the result of raw emotion, natural talent, or sudden moments of inspiration. Transformation is always, without exception, the direct byproduct of repeated obedience to spiritual law. You do not become powerful by hoping for power. You become powerful by building power through consistent daily actions. And building anything of lasting value requires a precise blueprint. A specific script written by you, repeated by you, and proven by you through unwavering commitment. The man who rises to greatness is never the man who waits passively for belief to arrive like an unexpected gift. He is the man who writes his own belief, who speaks that belief daily with conviction, who obeys that belief before he feels emotionally ready to do so. Because repetition always comes before transformation, and identity must be deliberately installed rather than accidentally assumed. You must now take complete command of your daily rhythm. You must replace aimless drift with passionate devotion. You must stop allowing precious time to pass without tangible proof of your commitment to change. Every hour you live is sacred. Every decision you make becomes documentation of who you are becoming. And your new identity must be rehearsed with the precision of spiritual law. This is the system, the structure, the altar upon which your transformation will be built. It is not optional or flexible. It is not subject to your moods or convenience. It is the daily death of your old self, the limiting habits, defeating thoughts, and weak voices that once ruled your existence, and the resurrection of the magnificent builder you were born to be. Let me give you the ritual that will reshape your entire existence. First, speak your chief aim aloud every morning. You must remind your subconscious mind daily what purpose it serves. The mind left to its own devices always returns to smallness and limitation. But the mind directed with crystal clarity aligns all its energy to obey your command. Declare with authority, I demand of myself the full and complete attainment of my specific goal, by the designated date through focused thought, decisive action, and daily obedience. Speak this as immutable law, not as hope, not as theory, but as spiritual law that governs your existence. Second, speak your identity aloud with passionate conviction. Your identity is not based on memory of who you have been. It is instruction for who you are becoming. Speak it aloud until your very spirit bends to its sound. I am the man who was sent. I build with divine order. I speak with sacred purpose. I walk as one chosen. I finish what I begin. Say it with complete authority. Do not speak as though you are trying to convince yourself of its truth. Speak as though it is already accomplished fact. Third, take one action in perfect alignment with your declared identity. You must prove who you are through behavior, not once, but daily. Each act must become irrefutable evidence. Identity is reinforced not through what you say, but through what you consistently confirm through your choices. Do not wait for the perfect task to present itself. Move forward immediately in whatever way you can today to validate your spoken script. Whether it is sending a crucial message, making a difficult decision, engaging in a challenging conversation, or completing a small but significant act, prove the identity through action. Fourth, record what you proved. At the end of your day, invest 5 minutes in documenting your progress. Write what you said that aligned with your calling. Write what you did that confirmed your belief. Write what old pattern you broke or what new standard you established. When you write your progress, your mind recognizes growth. When you document transformation, you deepen its impact. And when you return to read your records, you realize with amazement, I have actually become what I declared. This is your altar, your sacred space, your transformation laboratory. This is where excuses are permanently replaced with empowering rituals. This is where fear is exiled from your consciousness, and decision becomes your permanent dwelling place. Abraham Lincoln, long before he ever wore the title of president, lived by invisible spiritual law. He spoke to himself in the silence of his private moments. He repeated fundamental principles daily until they became as natural as breathing. He did not wait for official position to act with honor and authority. He practiced the voice and demeanor of authentic leadership until the world could no longer ignore his presence. And when the world finally offered him the title, he had already become the man worthy of it. So must you approach your own transformation. You are not practicing for some distant future season. You are not preparing for when you feel completely ready. You are proving daily who you have already decided to be, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Let me now share the deeper truth that will accelerate your progress. The subconscious mind does not accept what you say once and forget. It only obeys what you say repeatedly with genuine belief and emotional intensity. And when your words and actions achieve perfect alignment, You build unshakable certainty. And certainty is the spiritual foundation upon which all lasting power is constructed. You will not feel the full impact immediately. You may speak with trembling in your voice. You may act while questions still echo in your mind. But none of that matters in the slightest. The law works when you work it consistently, and repetition is the spiritual blade that sharpens identity until it cuts through every obstacle. Now say this aloud as your affirmation, your daily command, your non-negotiable commitment. Each day I act in obedience. Each day I prove who I am. Say it again with deeper conviction. Each day I act in obedience. Each day I prove who I am. Let it be repeated until your old self falls completely silent. Let it be lived until the new man no longer has to prove himself. He simply is what he declared himself to be. You are not your past memories or failures. You are your current instruction, your daily choices, your moment-by-moment decisions. And the instruction you follow daily with unwavering consistency is the man you inevitably become. Write it, speak it, act it, record it. That is your script. That is your altar. That is precisely how you rise to claim the greatness that awaits you. Heaven does not wait for your convenience. It watches with keen interest, but it does not delay its plans. It does not stall or hesitate. It stands ready to move on your behalf with unlimited power. But heaven does not respond to the man who delays action while hoping for perfect conditions. It moves only for the man who walks forward, as though sent with fire blazing in his chest and complete obedience governing his steps. The man who moves without apology, without lengthy explanations, without the possibility of retreat. Heaven has never in history responded to those who remain idle. It has never opened supernatural doors for those who linger in indecision. It does not respond to fear disguised as prudence. It responds exclusively to faith demonstrated through immediate motion. All power, spiritual, mental, and economic, belongs to the man who carries himself like he was placed on this earth for a specific divine reason. And the moment you walk like that, speak like that, live like that, doors that seemed permanently sealed begin to swing open. Resources that appeared unavailable begin to flow toward you. Opportunities that seemed impossible begin to present themselves with perfect timing. But understand this crucial sequence. Power does not arrive first to make obedience easier. Obedience comes first, proving your worthiness to handle power. The move is made before the miracle manifests. The decision is acted upon before the provision appears. The divine command is walked out in faith before the confirmation arrives. Because obedience is the only evidence of belief that heaven recognizes. And belief demonstrated through action is what heaven constantly watches for. You cannot live as though you are here by random chance and expect a life of clear direction. You cannot speak like someone begging for scraps and expect to receive the favor reserved for royalty. You cannot wait for unmistakable signs and then claim that you believe in your calling. Heaven does not move in response to your words alone. It moves in response to your perfect alignment between belief and behavior. And the man who lives by spiritual law daily, consistently, with unwavering discipline becomes unshakable by any earthly force. He becomes immovable in his purpose. He becomes undeniable in his results. This happens not because the world suddenly decided to bless him, but because heaven itself demanded his success as the natural consequence of his faithful obedience. You must now stop praying for movement while your feet remain planted in hesitation. You must stop asking for confirmation when you have already received your calling. You must stop living like a question searching for an answer and begin living as the answer to every question about what is possible when a man fully commits to his divine purpose. The law is this, and it admits no exceptions. Heaven moves when you do. There are no shortcuts that bypass this requirement. There are no excuses that exempt you from this truth. You have been instructed through this message. You have been assigned your sacred mission. And if you have truly listened to these words, you have now been commanded to act. The days of wondering are finished. The season of wavering has passed into history. You do not need another reminder to motivate you. You do not need another sign to convince you. You need only to act with the knowledge you have already received. Walk as though God Himself flows through your consciousness, because He does. Build as though heaven stands behind every effort you make, because it does. Speak as though your words carry the power to reshape entire worlds, because they carry exactly that power. Let me now give you your final command, the declaration you will speak not just once, but every day, until your very bones believe its truth. Act as if God is within you, because He is. Act as if heaven sent you, because it did. Say it again with even more conviction. Act as if God is within you, because He is. Act as if heaven sent you, because it did. Let this declaration cancel forever the weak voice of your former self. Let it burn away completely the language of delay and excuse. Let it baptize you into the magnificent man you were born to be. Not at some future date, but right now, in this moment. You are not behind schedule. You are not too flawed for greatness. You are not missing any essential element. You were sent to this earth with everything you need to begin immediately. But heaven will not move until you demonstrate your readiness through action. So go now, not in noisy desperation, but in quiet spiritual law. Not in frantic haste, but in disciplined precision. Not in arrogant pride, but in humble divine certainty. Now speak your final affirmation, the decree that establishes your new identity. I walk in divine command. I move as if sent. I build with obedience. I become what heaven intended. Say it again with absolute finality. I walk in divine command. I move as if sent. I build with obedience. I become what heaven intended. This is your new identity, written in the spiritual realm and now manifesting in the physical world. You are not a man who wonders about his purpose. You are not a man who wavers in his commitment. You are a man who walks with divine purpose, with supernatural power, with commanding presence. From this day forward, everything you touch will rise to meet your elevated standard, because you no longer wait for heaven to move on your behalf. You are the movement that heaven has been waiting for, and now, finally, it begins. The transformation is complete. The old man is dead. The new man is alive and ready to fulfill his divine assignment. Walk forward now with the confidence of one who knows that he carries the very power of creation within his spirit. Your time has come. Your moment has arrived. The world is waiting for what you were sent here to build.